Mickey O'Neill. Mickey O'Neill enters Snatch not as a traditional player in the London underworld, but as an obstacle. To Turkish and Tommy, he is a substitute bare-knuckle boxer, reluctantly brought in after their own fighter is sidelined. To Bricktop, he is nothing more than a disposable pawn ordered to throw a fight. That underestimation is exactly what defines his role. Mickey leverages prejudice, miscommunication, and his outsider status to dismantle the entire criminal structure around him. His ruse, appearing compliant while secretly betting on himself, leads to a complete reversal of power. By the end, he has avenged his mother's murder, eliminated Bricktop's empire, and secured a financial windfall for his traveling gypsy clan. His narrative function is that of the unpredictable wild card who weaponizes the arrogance of others. The making of the character is as remarkable as his impact within the story. Brad Pitt, desperate to work with Guy Ritchie after admiring Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, requested a role but was unable to master a convincing Cockney accent. Rather than lose him, Ritchie rewrote the script to create Mickey as an Irish traveler. Pitt then faced the new challenge of crafting an unintelligible, chaotic dialect. In a moment of desperation before shooting, he embraced incomprehensibility as the character's core trait. Ritchie agreed, turning Mickey's indecipherable speech into both a comedic centerpiece and a direct commentary on complaints that Lockstock had been difficult to understand. The result was a character whose voice became as memorable as his fists.
Tommy, Mickey.
It's not Irish. It's not English.
How are you? Well, what is my contest with the horses, you know?
Pitt's physical preparation matched the intensity of the vocal transformation. Coming off the wiry look of Fight Club, he trained under boxing coach Joe Goosen to add dense muscle, building the believable frame of a gypsy prizefighter. Reports from the set even suggest that Pitt adopted a method approach, limiting hygiene to give Mickey his grimy, rough-edged appearance. His fights were choreographed to echo real bare-knuckle history, most notably, the Lenny McLean vs. Mad Gypsy Bradshaw brawl from 1986. Even small details, like Mickey demanding a periwinkle blue caravan for his mother, were layered with cinematic illusion, referencing Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and hinting at foreshadowed tragedy.
Hey, I do it for a caravan.
What?
Caravan. It's not for me. It's for me, man.
Despite his brilliance, Mickey is not without controversy. The frequent use of the slur, pikey, and the depiction of gypsies as cunning, violent outsiders has drawn criticism for perpetuating stereotypes. While some travelers praised Pitt's rhythm and cadence as accurate, others condemned it as caricature. The film even included a special pikey subtitles track for home release, cementing the comedic intent but also underscoring the alienation of a marginalized community. This dual legacy, cultural phenomenon on one hand, harmful stereotype on the other, defines Mickey's place in Guy Ritchie's canon. He is simultaneously one of its funniest and most problematic figures. What cannot be denied is that his final act, obliterating Bricktop's operation while being dismissed as a drunk fool, delivers one of the greatest reversals in Ritchie's entire filmography, embodying the theme that the most dangerous man is often the one no one takes seriously.
Get back down, or you will not be coming up next time. I'm out of here.
You're not going anywhere, you tick lump. You stay till the job's done.
Big Chris. Big Chris is introduced as the muscle for porn king Hatchet Harry, a towering enforcer whose job is to collect debts through intimidation and violence. At first glance, he appears to be a straightforward thug, yet as the story unfolds, he emerges as one of the film's most principled figures. In a criminal underworld filled with double crosses, betrayals, and chaotic incompetence, Big Chris stands apart because he operates with a strict personal code. He does not cheat, steal, or betray his employer. His function is simple but clear: execute his orders, protect his son, and collect what is owed. This adherence to a personal ethic makes him unique among the film's rogues and cements him as the unlikely moral center of the story. While the other factions collapse under their own greed and betrayal, Big Chris survives intact and even prospers, inheriting Harry's business after his boss is eliminated. The presence of Little Chris, his young son who often accompanies him on collections, humanizes the character further. Their father-son relationship adds a dimension rarely seen in crime films, an enforcer teaching his child lessons in respect, discipline, and honesty, while simultaneously beating men senseless for unpaid debts. This juxtaposition creates some of the film's most memorable and darkly comedic moments. The defining scene comes when the gangster Dog threatens Little Chris. In an instant, Big Chris brutally smashes Dog with a car door, demonstrating that while he is calm and professional in his work, his fury is boundless if his son is endangered. In the end, Big Chris emerges as the only criminal figure whose strength is built not on deceit, but on loyalty and paternal devotion. Casting Vinnie Jones was a stroke of genius. At the time, Jones was not an actor but a notorious footballer for Wimbledon FC, infamous for his aggressive style of play and hardman reputation. The script originally described Big Chris as a Vinnie Jones type, and producer Matthew Vaughn suggested hiring the man himself rather than looking for a stand-in. Jones's authenticity made him instantly believable as an enforcer. His natural intimidation required little explanation, and his on-screen presence resonated with audiences already familiar with his off-pitch persona. Despite no acting background, Jones approached the role with seriousness, rehearsing extensively with his wife. His debut proved so successful that it launched an entirely new career in film, turning him into one of the most recognizable tough guy actors of the next 2 decades. The film's success was anything but guaranteed. Made on a small budget with an ensemble of then-unknown actors, Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels struggled to find a distributor. Its fortunes shifted when Tom Cruise attended a private screening and publicly praised the film, convincing studios to take a chance on it. The result was an international breakout that established Guy Ritchie, Jason Statham, and Vinnie Jones in cinema. The film was dedicated to Lenny McLean, who played Barry the Baptist but passed away shortly before release, further underscoring its gritty connection to real-life underworld figures. Big Chris's legacy is that of the honorable thug. His iconic farewell line to the hapless protagonists, "It's been emotional," became one of the film's most quoted moments.
You understand? That's all I've come to say. There is one more thing. It's been emotional.
He demonstrated that even within a violent profession, a man could live by a code and survive where others perished. Retrospective criticism has noted the film's use of offensive language, including homophobic slurs, which has not aged well. Still, Big Chris remains one of Ritchie's most beloved characters, a man who embodies toughness, yet proves that true strength can come from loyalty and family, not just brute force.
You got something here for me, have you? Come on. Chop chop.
Sorry for stopping your video, but you really should subscribe.
Mickey Pearson. Mickey Pearson is the archetypal kingpin in Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, but he is no ordinary crime boss. Born an American expatriate, Mickey rose from a scholarship student at Oxford to building one of the largest and most sophisticated marijuana empires in Britain. His genius lies in the business model. He embeds massive underground cannabis farms beneath the estates of impoverished aristocrats, cutting deals that allow him to exploit their land while they quietly benefit financially. This arrangement makes his empire both discreet and uniquely tied to the old world establishment. Mickey's decision to retire and sell his empire for $400 million sets off the film's entire chain of conflict, creating a feeding frenzy as rivals, opportunists, and predators circle to take his throne. His self-description as the lion leaving the jungle perfectly captures his role.
There's only one rule in this fucking jungle. When the lion's hungry, he eats.
His very absence destabilizes the underworld and forces every other character into motion. McConaughey's performance embodies duality, refinement, and ruthlessness. On one hand, Mickey exudes class, living as an English gentleman complete with tailored tweed suits and aristocratic mannerisms. On the other hand, he is capable of sudden and horrifying violence, reminding rivals that his civility is a controlled mask rather than a weakness. Preparation for the role included McConaughey mirroring Guy Ritchie's own personal style. He wore the director's favored tweeds and country attire, which helped him inhabit the paradox of a gangster who appears indistinguishable from the aristocrats he manipulates. The actor described the long-running joke of the film as sophisticated men dealing in something as juvenile as selling weed. And that tension between class and crime defines Mickey's entire persona. Production details reinforce Mickey's place in Ritchie's evolving self-mythology. The film is littered with Ritchie's personal brand, from Ritchie Brewing Company logos in the pub scenes to Raymond's Barbecue Grill, which Ritchie designed and sells in real life. These touches blur the line between director and character, positioning Mickey Pearson almost as a stand-in for Ritchie himself, a man who built his empire from nothing, rose into the upper echelons of British society, and now contemplates stepping away at the height of his power. Amusingly, despite being central characters, McConaughey and Hugh Grant never filmed a scene together, only meeting after the movie's release during promotional interviews. Originally conceived as a television series, the film's structure and pacing bear traces of episodic storytelling, something later realized when Netflix adapted the idea into a full series. Mickey's reception highlights the tension in Ritchie's work. Many hailed him as a triumphant return to the witty gangster narratives that defined Ritchie's early career. Yet the film drew sharp criticism for its politically incorrect humor and racially charged depictions, particularly the way Asian characters were treated as crude stereotypes, while the white, weed-dealing gangsters were elevated as morally superior. Mickey Pearson sits at the heart of this debate. He is compelling, powerful, and meticulously constructed, but his empire rests on a cultural framework that feels increasingly out of step with modern sensibilities.
If you wish to be the king of the jungle, it's not enough to act like a king. You must be the king.
Brick Top. Bricktop Pulford is one of the most terrifying antagonists in all of Guy Ritchie's films. He runs the illegal boxing scene with absolute control, using violence and fear to maintain order. His most infamous method of disposing of enemies is feeding them to pigs, a practice he describes in chilling detail with unnerving calm.
Is cut up a corpse into 6 pieces, then I hear the best thing to do is feed them to pig.
This gruesome efficiency cements his reputation as the apex predator of Ritchie's London underworld. Whenever Bricktop appears, the stakes escalate to life-or-death levels. His shadow looms over the entire film, making every character's interaction with him feel desperate and dangerous. His eventual off-screen death at the hands of Mickey O'Neill's Gypsy Clan provides the story with its cathartic release. The monster, who seemed untouchable, is finally destroyed. What makes Bricktop particularly memorable is the contrast between his appearance and his viciousness. Alan Ford plays him as an elderly, bespectacled man with a refined manner, which only intensifies the horror of his cruelty. He is articulate, calm, and controlled, never needing to shout or rage to inspire terror. His most famous monologue is his definition of nemesis, which he delivers with casual precision, the righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent, in this case, himself.
Do you know what nemesis means? A righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent.
Lines like this transform him from a mere gangster into an embodiment of cold-blooded sadism wrapped in intellectual composure. The role was nearly very different. At one stage, the part was offered to Sean Connery, who even screened Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels to study Ritchie's style. Connery ultimately declined, and Ritchie considered casting real-life gangster Dave Courtney before finally selecting Alan Ford. Ford's theatrical experience gave Bricktop his unique blend of gravitas and menace, elevating the character beyond thuggish brutality. The choice proved masterful, creating one of the most chilling villains in crime cinema. Bricktop's presence is heightened by the way Ritchie frames him. Most of his horrors are described rather than shown, forcing audiences to imagine the details. This technique makes his cruelty feel even more disturbing. His dialogue is endlessly quotable, from his crude threats to his sardonic one-liners. He represents the entrenched criminal establishment. Unlike Mickey O'Neill, the outsider, Bricktop is the corrupt system itself. His bookies, his fixed fights, and his unflinching cruelty show him as the embodiment of institutional rot. Culturally, Bricktop is consistently ranked among the great villains of modern cinema. His combination of sadism, intelligence, and sharp dialogue secures his place in the pantheon of unforgettable crime bosses.
Got no time for grasses. Feed them to the pigs, Errol.
Johnny Quid. Johnny Quid is the philosophical wildcard at the heart of rock and rolla. He is a drug-addicted rock star who fakes his own death to boost record sales, but his actions ripple far beyond the music industry. As the estranged stepson of gangster Lenny Cole, Johnny becomes the catalyst for the film's tangled web of criminal conflict when he impulsively steals a lucky painting from his stepfather. That theft ignites the central chain of betrayals and schemes, pulling in Russian billionaires, corrupt real estate players, and rival gangs. Unlike other characters, obsessed with property deals and money, Johnny functions as a ghostly figure who destabilizes the narrative while delivering its most philosophical commentary. His musings about truth, lies, and existence provide a thematic core that elevates the film beyond a standard gangster caper. Toby Kebbell's performance transformed Johnny Quid into a cult icon.
Do I not look like a pothouse? 6 foot down the bar, go on, jog on. Walk on. Goodbye, bon voyage.
To play the part convincingly, Kebbell shed significant weight to portray a man ravaged by addiction, describing his look as that of a crackhead. He also learned piano to ground the character in musical authenticity, ensuring that Johnny's status as a musician was not just implied, but believable on screen. Kebbell brought manic energy and surprising depth to the character, avoiding cliché and instead creating a portrait of a chaotic but strangely insightful figure. Critics widely praised him as the standout of the film, with many noting that his work carried the emotional and philosophical weight of the story. Behind the scenes, Johnny Quid's legacy extended far beyond rock and rolla. The film famously ended with the promise of a sequel titled The Real Rock and Rolla, with Johnny, Archie, and the Wild Bunch slated to return. Fans eagerly awaited the continuation, but it never materialized. Guy Ritchie confirmed multiple times that a script existed, yet his commitments to larger studio projects delayed or derailed production. The situation took a controversial turn when, in 2022, writer Mickey DeHara filed a lawsuit claiming Ritchie repurposed elements of their planned sequel to create The Gentleman. This legal battle gave Johnny Quid's story an ironic, real-world parallel. Just as he faked his death to manipulate his legacy, the sequel itself became a ghost, its ideas allegedly reborn in another form. Culturally, Johnny Quid has become a fan-favorite symbol of chaotic brilliance. While Rock'n'Rolla earned only modest box office returns, it developed a loyal cult following, with Johnny's cigarette packet monologues and erratic behavior resonating strongly. His character represents a rejection of material obsession, standing in opposition to the gangsters who measure power in property and wealth. Instead, Johnny embraces destruction, freedom, and artistic chaos. The promise of his return, left unfulfilled, has only deepened his mystique.
Because I'm going to be just like you, Uncle. I'm going to be a real rock and roller.
H, revealed later as Mason Hargreaves, is unlike the witty hustlers or charismatic enforcers that define much of Guy Ritchie's earlier work. He is a silent, brooding figure who takes a job at an armored truck company for one reason only: to find and kill the men responsible for his son's murder during a heist. Where other Ritchie protagonists balance violence with charm or humor, H is completely stripped of levity. He functions as a relentless instrument of vengeance, hunting with methodical precision rather than improvisational flair. The film itself mirrors his persona, abandoning Ritchie's usual frenetic editing and Cockney banter in favor of a grim, linear descent into retribution. H's role in the story is one of deconstruction. He does not outwit rivals through schemes or survive by luck. He dismantles them through sheer brutality and unshakable will. His actions border on monstrous, executing criminals who are already disarmed, torturing informants, and killing without hesitation. In many ways, he is the logical endpoint of Ritchie's hard man archetype. Remove the humor and humanity, and what remains is vengeance personified, a character critics compared to a horror movie slasher dressed as a man. His presence transforms Wrath of Man from a gangster caper into a bleak meditation on grief, violence, and the emptiness of revenge. For Jason Statham, the role represented an evolution. It marked his fourth collaboration with Ritchie, but the first in more than 15 years. Gone was the fast-talking hustler of Lock, Stock, or Snatch. In his place stood a hardened figure defined by silence and menace. Statham's physicality carried the performance, minimal dialogue, but a coiled intensity and unblinking gaze that communicated rage beneath the surface.
Get down on the ground! There, the fucking there! Move it!
Reviewers frequently compared him to Clint Eastwood's iconic Avengers in Dirty Harry and High Plains Drifter, noting the same combination of stoicism and deadly efficiency. For both director and actor, it was a return to partnership with a darker, more mature sensibility. The film's origins lie in a French thriller, Le Convoyeur, which provided the skeleton of the revenge plot. Ritchie's version, however, stripped away even more humanity, heightening the bleakness. Casting choices added intrigue. Post Malone appears briefly as a robber dispatched in one of H's earliest scenes, and Andy Garcia provides a small but pivotal role as a government figure who tacitly enables H's mission. These details reinforce the sense that H is not just a vigilante, but a sanctioned force of destruction, unleashed with little regard for morality. Reception was divided. Some praised the taut action and Statham's commanding presence, seeing it as a refreshing break from Ritchie's stylized comedies. Others criticized its relentless grimness, arguing that without the wit and camaraderie, the violence felt hollow. The locker room banter at the film's opening drew particular backlash for its reliance on misogynistic and homophobic jokes, echoing long-standing criticisms of Ritchie's writing. Still, H stands as one of Ritchie's most unsettling creations, not a rogue with swagger, but a specter of vengeance that strips the genre to its bare, brutal bones.
Here you go, Shirley.
May I introduce H?
Oh, she'll do.
Raymond Smith. Raymond Smith is the consummate consigliere, the right-hand man who ensures the empire of Mickey Pearson runs smoothly. Where Mickey functions as the kingpin, Ray is the operator, solving problems on the ground with calm precision. His demeanor never wavers. Whether he is cooking Wagyu steak while negotiating with a blackmailer or walking unarmed into a den of heroin addicts, he remains unflappable. The film's narrative is largely told through his perspective, framed by his exchanges with Fletcher, the sleazy investigator played by Hugh Grant. This positioning makes him the anchor of the story, the character through whom audiences navigate the chaos of rival gangs, schemes, and betrayals. Ray's effectiveness lies in his combination of psychological intimidation and restrained violence. Unlike the hot-headed criminals around him, he rarely needs to raise his voice or fire a weapon. His quiet confidence is enough to disarm most opponents. His interrogation of the young thugs in the heroin den is a prime example. He uses controlled menace and intelligence to establish dominance without unnecessary bloodshed. This ability to project power without spectacle makes him one of Ritchie's most efficient creations.
I can be dangerous if I want to be. Get out now.
Sit down. Now sit.
His loyalty to Mickey appears absolute, yet subtle ambiguity lingers about whether his devotion is rooted in genuine respect or a strategic positioning for potential succession. For Charlie Hunnam, the role represented a chance to re-establish his partnership with Guy Ritchie after the commercial failure of King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. The two worked closely to define Raymond's aura, debating the nuances of his loyalty and whether he harbored hidden ambition. Hunnam's preparation included extensive research into the mindset of high-level fixers and enforcers, grounding Raymond's composure in real-world criminal archetypes. His chemistry with Hugh Grant became a highlight of the film, with their scenes praised as some of the sharpest verbal sparring in Ritchie's work. Production details reinforced Raymond's centrality. Although Mickey Pearson sets the plot in motion, much of the action is advanced by Raymond's choices, capturing henchmen, countering Fletcher's blackmail, and diffusing crises. Off-screen, the role was shaped by Hunnam's established friendship with Ritchie, giving him space to play the character with subtlety rather than flash. This collaboration paid off, with many critics noting that Hunnam's understated performance provided balance against the film's more flamboyant figures. Raymond quickly became a fan favorite upon release. Audiences were drawn to his tailored style, controlled demeanor, and sharp dialogue. The heroin-den confrontation was compared by some to Samuel L. Jackson's iconic intimidation scenes in Pulp Fiction, cementing Raymond as one of Ritchie's coolest operators. His quiet uncertainty about ultimate allegiance adds to his mystique, leaving the door open for future stories and interpretations.
My name is Raymond Smith. Could I step inside for a moment, please?
Bullet-Tooth Tony. Bullet-Tooth Tony is the mercenary counterpart to Big Chris, an enforcer elevated from local muscle to a near-mythical problem solver. Brought into the chaos of Snatch by American diamond dealer Avi, Tony's task is to track down Frankie Four Fingers and recover the 86-carat diamond. His reputation precedes him. The nickname Bullet Tooth comes from surviving 6 gunshots and replacing 2 teeth with the bullets themselves. This detail alone marks him as more legend than man, a figure who thrives on intimidation as much as violence. In a film filled with bunglers and fools, Tony cuts through the noise with professional competence and icy self-control. Tony's presence is defined by psychological dominance as much as physical power. The most famous moment is his Desert Eagle .50 speech, where he dismantles a group of armed men without firing a shot. His calm explanation of exactly why his gun is superior terrifies his opponents into submission before the standoff even begins.
You're having second thoughts. You're shrinking, and your 2 little balls are shrinking with you. The fact that you've got replica, and the fact that I've got Desert Eagle .50 should precipitate your balls into shrinking.
Tony represents the professional mercenary, unflappable, methodical, and always in control. He is nearly indestructible, shrugging off gunfire and dispatching enemies with clinical precision. Within the narrative, he serves as a foil to the amateurs around him, demonstrating what competence looks like in a world otherwise defined by incompetence. For Vinnie Jones, the role allowed him to expand beyond the brute force of Big Chris. While still menacing and physically imposing, Bullet-Tooth Tony was more articulate, stylish, and psychologically layered. Jones demonstrated that he could deliver monologues and embody charisma, not just intimidation. His growth as an actor is evident in The Shift. Big Chris is defined by simple loyalty and fatherhood, while Tony is an operator who blends intelligence with menace. This duality proved that Jones could evolve his hard man persona into something more complex, securing his status as a recurring presence in Ritchie's cinematic world. The production added to Tony's legend in unexpected ways. On the eve of shooting one of his key scenes, Jones was arrested after a fight and spent the night in jail. The crew had to use a stand-in for shots of Tony approaching a car, reinforcing the idea that Jones himself lived as close to the bone as the characters he portrayed. Far from hurting his reputation, the incident only deepened the mystique around both actor and role. Culturally, Bullet-Tooth Tony became one of the most iconic figures in Ritchie's early career. His tough demeanor, quotable dialogue, and unshakable calm made him a fan favorite, often cited as one of Jones's most memorable performances. The dark humor of moments like his love for Madonna's Lucky Star, the same song that played when he was shot 6 times, further cemented his reputation as a character who embodies masochistic resilience.
Now, fuck off.
If you enjoyed this, go ahead and subscribe. I've got a lot more content coming. Thanks for watching.